Salut, je m'appelle Loka et bienvenue sur mes champs What's Good English. At least I think that's how you're supposed to say it. I don't know. What's up, everybody? What's good? My name is EK, and welcome to What's Good English. So back when I started learning Spanish, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, it worked, obviously, but it really could have gone either way. And the only experiences I had with learning languages were when I tried to learn Mandarin, which I got pretty good at, and then promptly forgot most of it. And then I went really hard at Portuguese, and I got Rosetta Stone, and I was studying it every single day for months, for hours and hours, and I got okay with it and then forgot most of it. It's actually kind of funny because now my Portuguese is really good because my level of Spanish is so high that I can have a conversation in broken Portuguese/Spanish and understand what they're saying, and we can communicate like that. And also Galatian. But see, now that I've successfully learned a language, I now kind of know how to learn a language, or at least what will work for me. So I want to share with you guys how I plan to learn French this year. I'm taking a bit of a hybrid approach to it, using both old school and new school language learning techniques. A lot of old school language learners don't really like using language learning apps because you can't really get fluent from using them. However, I do think they can be very useful tools in the process, especially early on. They can do things like gamify the experience for you, and they give you that bit of hand-holding and structure that are necessary for some people, especially if you're not an experienced language learner. But like the old school people say, you can't really get to fluency with them, so they are only tools. Right now I'm using a lot of Duolingo and Busuu, mainly because I forgot to cancel my yearly premium subscription on Busuu and I got like a month left on it, but nah. And I'm also using an app that you might not have heard before. It's called Link, and it's from the polyglot Steve Kaufman. It's basically a wealth of comprehensible input in audio and written form. So there's short stories, there are news articles, podcasts, books, just loads of stuff there with native speakers reading all the text, and you can mark your words. And you know what? I will do a full review and give you my thoughts on Link in another video. On the old school front, I also bought a few of the graded readers that Ollie Richards makes. And if you remember from my last video of 2021, I have Le Petit Prince. And the last resource that I'm currently using right now to help myself learn French is quite possibly the best language learning app of all, YouTube. I'm watching lots of comprehensible French input videos from Alice Sayel and the YouTube channel Comprehensible French Input. I'm also on the lookout for short stories that are animated in French so I can hear the language and get an ear for it, as well as learn what they're saying in context. Now, what I'm not doing right now is speaking. I mean, obviously I've learned how to say stuff like bonjour, salut, comment allez-vous, merci, stuff like that. However, I'm taking the advice from Pablo from Dreaming Spanish and Matt from Matt vs. Japan, I think that's the name of his channel, and I'm not speaking to really train my ears to listen for how everything is pronounced, because it's supposed to theoretically lead to less errors when I do finally start speaking. Now, I am itching to book a lot of sessions with italki tutors, as well as get back to doing something like the Lingo to Sprint again. However, I'm going to devote the rest of this month and probably all of February and maybe even all or most of March to really focusing on listening and improving those skills before I start to speak. Two other things that I'm not doing right now and do not plan on doing at all are flashcards and workbooks. You probably noticed that I did not mention Anki when I talked about apps that I was using, and that's because I don't see the point behind vocabulary lists, even stuff like the most common 500 or 1500 words in the language. That's because if you read books, short stories, podcasts, watch TV shows, YouTube videos, whatever, all of the important stuff is going to be repeated for you over and over and over again in the context. If you turn on the subtitles when you're watching a video, or if you're reading the book, everything's right there. And it works the exact same for grammar. You will see the correct structures repeated over and over and over again, and your mind will instantly take note of that way better than just looking at a flashcard out of context. Even if you put a sentence on that flashcard, even if you put a picture with the flashcard, it's not going to work the same as being forced to rely on your brain to tell tell you what you are seeing when you are reading it in an actual story or listening to someone saying it and have to figure out what they're talking about. That's not just some crazy theory that I have, that's me speaking from my own personal experience. When I started learning Spanish, I bought 3 whole workbooks from McGraw-Hill to help me out with my vocabulary and my grammar, and I forget what the other one was. But I only finished 13% of one of those workbooks. And my Spanish did nothing but get better after I stopped using those workbooks and I stopped trying to use italki, and I just focused on input and reading everything that I could get my hands on, and focused on the conversations that I was having and turning on subtitles when I was watching stuff to get an idea of what everything meant in context. That stuff stuck in my brain a lot better. The example that I always give is the example of how I learned the word martillo, which means hammer in Spanish. It was in my italki deck for months. It was something like 3 or 4 months, and I could never remember that word. Every time it came up, I was like, and I had to look it up. But I read one short story called El Robo de Martillo de Thor, and after that short story, like during the short story, actually, I think we were about 1/3 of the way through, and that word was just registered in my mind, and I've never forgotten it since. So there you have it. That is how I plan on learning French this year. My goal is to be at least a B2 fluency by the end of the year. We'll see if it happens. We'll see if I fail. I don't know. Do not worry. I'm not going to drop any I learned French in 30 days or I learned French in 6 months type of videos on this channel. That's not my thing. I do want to try this guy's method, but you have to be at least around a B1 to be able to use that method, so we'll see. The other thing is, I want to show how much of a struggle it is to learn a language on this channel and the process. I think it's important that you see that it's a struggle, but it's a fun struggle. I've seen what Xiao Ma does, and I ain't got that type of time on my hands. The other thing is, that's not really scalable to a lot of people. I only plan on studying for maybe an hour or 2 every day at first. I'll probably pick it up a lot more heavily as I get to around the A2 level, all the way through B1 and hopefully into B2. But right now, I'm just taking my time and enjoying it. I'll be releasing some progress videos later on so you can see exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Also, I need your guys' help. For those of you who speak French, please drop me a comment and let me know who your favorite French YouTubers are, or Instagram accounts or TikTok accounts, so I can follow them and listen to them, watch them, because that will help me get an ear for the language and see some stuff in context that regular people watch. And for everyone, please help keep me honest. Ask me about my process, ask me for videos about my process, force me to make videos about this process. That will keep me wanting to go after it even more. So please help me out, drop me those comments as well. That's gonna do it for this video, and I will catch y'all on the next one. Ciao.